Good afternoon, good morning, and evening, depending on where you are. A very warm welcome to the first discussion of a series organized by the Institute of South Asian Studies on the coming Indian general elections titled India Election Watch. India's general elections, which is the world's largest electoral exercise, will be held from 19th April to 1st June 2024. India's Election Commission, or the EC, announced the dates last Saturday for a 7-phase election involving a potential 970 million voters. Today's topic of discussion is, are the general elections no contest? We begin the series with this topic since leading up to the polls, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Bharatiya Janata Party have successfully pushed a narrative that the election result is a foregone conclusion, and it's only a matter of the BJP increasing its number from last time, namely 2019. In the final session of both houses of Indian Parliament earlier this year, Prime Minister Modi unusually made a prediction about the poll results. He announced that the BJP will win at least 370 of the 543 Lok Sabha or lower house seats on offer, and the BJP-led National Democratic Alliance, NDA, will cross 400 seats. While poll predictions often inflated by political leaders are not uncommon to boost the morale of party workers and to send a signal to voters, this was actually a rare instance of the floor of the parliament being used for such kind of forecasting. Since then, this narrative has been bolstered by Prime Minister Modi and other senior leaders who have repeatedly emphasized the intended target. Indeed, the BJP slogan this time is Ab ki baar 400 par, or this time we will cross 400 seats. The BJP on its own had 303 seats in the outgoing Lok Sabha. So to reach that kind of target, even with the help of allies, would require a significant increase in the BJP's vote share. One of the key issues as India heads to elections is whether the BJP's target makes sense, and if so, where are their additional seats going to come from? It is well known that there is not much scope for improvement for the BJP in what is known as the Hindi belt, roughly north and central India, as well as in the west, where the BJP has had a great strike rate in the 2019 general elections and in the majority of the assembly elections held over the past 5 years. This is also where in many states such as Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Himachal Pradesh, and Uttarakhand, the BJP's primary opponent is the Congress, and one where the BJP easily has the bragging rights. The BJP has also been very busy picking up allies across India over the past few weeks, with the switch of Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar and his party, the Janata Dal United, with the BJP, and the breakup of the alliance with the RJD, or the Rashtriya Janata Dal, being possibly one of the most significant additions to the NDA. In eastern India, primarily West Bengal and with Odisha, which have a combined 63 seats, the BJP has made inroads and sees scope for greater expansion. In 2019, the BJP won 18 seats in West Bengal and 8 in Odisha. It is looking to make gains in these two states, particularly in West Bengal, where Modi has made several trips in the recent past, though it faces a strong regional party in the shape of the Trinamool Congress, or the TMC. The situation is somewhat different in Odisha, though with talk of a tacit alliance between the BJP and the Biju Janata Dal, or the BJD, and with the BJD generally backing the BJP over the past few years on most issues in parliament as well as outside. Of course, it's southern India, with the exception of Karnataka, that has been the region most resistant to the BJP and Prime Minister Modi. The southern states, if you include Puducherry and Lakshadweep, send a combined 130 MPs to the lower house. In 2019, the BJP had won only 29 seats there, with 25 coming from Karnataka alone. The BJP's so-called southern push, with Modi having already visited Tamil Nadu, if I'm not tricked, 6 times this year, and just wrapped up a tour of South India yesterday with a roadshow in Kerala and a rally in Salem in Tamil Nadu, is actually one of the big stories of this election. To discuss these issues, namely the BJP's target of 370 plus seats, the electoral strategies that the BJP is employing to reach that target, the response of regional parties like the TMC, and the impact of the BJP's southern push and its fallout on parties in the south like the DMK in Tamil Nadu, BRS in Telangana, YSRCP in Andhra Pradesh, and of course, much, much more. We have a stellar panel today. The panel includes Professor Sanjay Kumar, Professor and Co-Director of Lokniti Center for the Study of Developing Societies, Dr. Nilanjan Sarkar, Senior Fellow, Center for Policy Research, Dr. Narayan Lakshman, Senior Associate Editor, The Hindu, and a non-resident Senior Editor with ISAS, and Dr. Neelam Pandey, Senior Associate Editor with The Print. So each panelist will speak for about 10-12 minutes, followed by a discussion. Members of the audience can send in their questions via the chat or the question and answer mode. So may I now, without any further ado, invite Professor Sanjay Kumar to possibly speak about the overall picture and whether the BJP's claims look feasible or not. I believe Sanjay has some slides, so please feel free to share them on via the share screen. Over to you.
Thank you, Ronoje, for inviting me for the discussion. Yes, I have some slides to share because I believe that if we are talking about elections, we need to talk about numbers. And it is better to show the numbers rather than keep talking about the numbers. So let me just share the screen. Is it visible or no?
Not yet, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. So what I'm trying to do in the next 10-12 minutes is to emphasize this point, because this is a discussion which is going on, that why 2024 cannot surprise the Indian voters, Indian political parties like it did in 2004. See, my straight answer to the big question is, I think 2024 is a no contest. Like this is a kind of a race where we know who is going to be the winner. So the winner, and that is why little the interest in this election has come down from my point of view, because a race where I know who is going to be the winner, the interest is bound to go down. It's only the question of whether the winner is going to break its previous record or not. So few slides on why I think 2004 cannot be repeated in 2024. First, what happened? Yes. So just a recap of what happened 20 years ago. There was a narrative of India shining, expected to reflect on BJP's, win. And this is the kind of things which we were coming across, which came across in 2004 elections, India leading with 276, etc., etc. Just to give you a view that even before the 2004 Lok Sabha election, there was a euphoria in favor of BJP that, this is not an election to be contested. This is the Vajpayee government is going to come back to power. So that is the similar kind of a narrative which we witnessed now. And that is why this comparison is being made. But what happened 20 years ago? So this is just a recap of BJP got 138 seats and Congress managed to get 145. So Congress led the contest and BJP was number 2. And we all know that when Congress managed to form the government. Why this comparison between 2004 and 2024? Why people are comparing? Because when 2004 Lok Sabha elections, BJP was in office. Even at this time, when the country goes for elections, 2024, Congress is BJP is in office. Main opposition party remains the same, Congress. Even at the time, there was a narrative of development, which was India shining, India shining. Development is the narrative even today of the BJP government. Popular PM, Vajpayee was seen as a very popular PM. Today, Narendra Modi is being seen as the very popular PM. Overall mood, even before 2004 election, it was a pro-BJP mood. And same kind of a mood we can witness even now, that a pro-BJP mood among the voters of this country. And that is why it is important to compare 2004 and 2024, and even reasonable to ask this question, why 2004 cannot be repeated in 2024, or maybe the other way around. 2004 could happen even in 2024. But my answer to that question is no, 2004 cannot be repeated in 2024. And I'm now moving in the direction of why do I say that? Beyond appearances, 2024 is very distinct if I compare it with 2004. So if we look at the 2004, before 2004 Lok Sabha elections, the strength of Congress was much weaker compared to what it is now, and the strength of BJP is much stronger now compared to what it was before 2004 Lok Sabha election. Congress had 114 seats when it went to poll in 2004. Now they're sitting with 52 seats. And look at the vote share difference. At that time, Congress vote share was 28%, and now Congress vote share is 19%, almost 10% less. At that time, Congress was the ruling party in 11 states. At this moment, this is the India Alliance, the entire India Alliance are having a government in 9 states. This gives us an idea about the strength of Congress then and now. And if we look at the BJP's 82, 182 and 303, and look at the vote share, 24% and 37%. It's 13% higher. 6 state governments at that time. Now BJP is in government in 18 states along with the allies. There are other ways of looking at this data. Even when Congress was out of power before 2004 Lok Sabha elections and BJP was in power, but the vote share difference was very different. BJP was having a less support base, 24, and Congress was having a much wider support base, 28%. So the base was very different. Even though Congress was out of power, but Congress vote share was much higher compared to BJP's vote share before 2004 election, which is not the case in 2024 Lok Sabha election. Just to emphasize the point that BJP is far more stronger before 2024 compared to 2004. So out of 303 seats, 50% votes BJP has got in 224 seats. So this gives us an idea of the strength that 224 seats BJP hold more than 50% votes in 2019, which is to say at this moment when BJP goes for election, it has a much stronger support in large number of constituencies, 224 constituency where BJP's vote is 50% plus. And if we look at the 1990 Lok Sabha election, which is just before the 2004 Lok Sabha election, out of 182, in only 83 seats, BJP's vote share was more than 50%. And these are the breakups of 3 lakhs plus vote 105 constituency and 2 lakhs to 3 lakhs vote 59 constituency. So a very large number of constituencies, BJP has not only managed to win those seats, but BJP's vote share is very high. If we look at Congress's strength, so look at out of the 52 seats which Congress managed to win in 2019, 50,000, less than 50,000 margin, 19 seats, less than between 50,000 and 1 lakh margin, 12 seats. So if you add 19 and 12, which is 31 seats. So out of 52 seats, 31 seats, Congress has managed to win with smaller margins. So again, stressing the point, 2004 and 2024, when Congress went to poll in 2004, even though Congress was out of power, but Congress had a lead over BJP by 4.5%, even though Congress was in opposition. And now, before 2024 Lok Sabha election, Congress is going into election with a deficit of 17%, 18% votes compared to BJP, 37 and 19. Huge, stark difference between the support base of Congress and BJP, even though in terms of the position in the government, ruling party and opposition, it remains the same, but the strength of the ruling party and the strength of the opposition party is very different. The narrative of Vajpayee was a popular prime minister. He lost election. Why can't Modi lose election? even though he remains a popular prime minister. This is based on the survey. And if you look at the data on the right-hand side, Vajpayee was a popular PM. 38% people at that time mentioned that they would like to see Vajpayee as the next prime minister. Modi is far more popular compared to Vajpayee, because now Modi's popularity is at the range of 43-44%. So yes, both of them are popular, but Modi remains far more popular compared to Vajpayee. And that is why I think repeating 2004 in 2024 is difficult, because at the helm of affairs is Modi, who is far more popular compared to Vajpayee. Look at the support, last two slides. Look at the support base of BJP, which is more widespread now. And this is a very important data from my point of view. BJP's vote share in 2000, this data indicates that BJP's support base is far more or deep rooted now compared to what it was before 2004 Lok Sabha election. BJP's vote share before 2004 Lok Sabha election was 24%. And among the poor, its vote share was 16%. So almost 8% less compared to the average vote. Among the lower classes of voter, 1% less. Rural voters, 2% less compared to the average vote. OBC, 4% less compared to the average vote share. ST and SC, ST 2% less, and among SC, almost 10% less compared to the average vote share. Voters. So these are overlapping categories, but these are voters who are in sizable numbers from whichever point of view you want to look at the size. But now look at how BJP has not only increased its vote share, but look at the deep roots BJP has been able to make or inroads among those sections of voters who have not voted for BJP in such a large numbers as we see now. 37% vote of BJP before when BJP goes for elections in 2024. Among the poor, almost at par, 37-36. Among lower sections, almost at par. So among the poor, BJP has made huge inroads. Rural voters, huge inroads, 1% plus compared to the average vote. OBC, 7%, 7%, 6 plus, yeah, almost 7% higher compared to the average vote. ST, 7% higher compared to the average vote. Among the Dalits, 4% less, but if you compare it with 2019, BJP has been able to make huge inroads among the Dalit voter. So the rural, if a party manages to make inroads among the rural voters, the lower in terms of socioeconomic ladder, if a party manages to make inroads among the lower sections of the society, it is far stable compared to a party having a huge support among the other sections, in a sense, upper class, upper caste, urban voters. So this gives us a sense that BJP is BJP support base is far stable now compared to the past. And the last slide about beyond appearances. The two narrative, because there is a narrative which is going on that the price rise is very high, unemployment is very high. Why these two cannot be an issue, and why people will vote on these issues, BJP can be defeated. So the narrative at that time was also development, and right now also the narrative is about development. But look at the difference. In 2000, before 2004 Lok Sabha elections, the development was the development, the benefits of development went to all. Vajpayee's government, only 27% believe that the development has been for everyone. Modi's government, it is 38%. So there is a widespread acceptance of development, much wider acceptance of development done by Prime Minister Modi's government compared to Vajpayee's government. And only rich benefited from whatever development has taken place. People were more critical about Vajpayee's government. 43% of the voters at that time believed that the development has benefited only the rich. Even in present times, a sizable number of people still believe 36%. But if you compare it with, if you look at the table, the data above, Vajpayee government's developmental model was less acceptable compared to Prime Minister Modi's developmental model, because a very large number of people believe that the development has reached a very large number of people. So I think if we look at all these evidences very, very carefully with a neutral approach, my own sense is that repeating 2004 is going to be almost impossible, or I would prefer even to, leave out this word almost, and I would say repeating 2004 is impossible in 2024. And this is a race which I think is a race, electoral race, of the winner is almost decided. Thank you very much. I will stop here.
Uh, Thank you, Sanjay, for that excellent and very pithy summary of why 2024 won't be 2004. And we can sort of discuss this further during the discussion. May I now turn to Nilanjan, who could you dwell on the strategy of the regional parties, particularly parties like the Trinamool Congress, on which, of course, you've worked on and written on earlier in the coming elections, as well as the prospects of these parties. Over to you, Nilanjan.
Let me just get my slides up. 1 second here. They were up and then they went up. Are you able to see my slides?
You can see it, yeah.
Oh,
Maybe if you want, you can go into, full screen. Great.
Okay, so I thought the way that I would try to discuss thinking about the politics of the East and Northeast is to kind of back into it, right? In some sense, we understand that politically, the East and the Northeast has been very different than, let's say, the Hindi belt, right? As Ronald Ray mentioned in the introduction. And thinking about why that is, and then how that helps inform us about, how strategies might be different, or what is the extent of the Hindu vote, and so on and so forth. These are all questions that one would have about the East and the Northeast. So I always, as I'm going to back into this, I always like to start with a discussion of what happened in 2014, because in some sense, that's the origin event, and then we sort of expand out, right? And we know that in 2014, the BJP got a single party majority, first time, a very long time, on 31% vote share. Now, less than a third of, aggregate vote share, but, more than a majority of seats means mathematically there was quite a bit of regional concentration, right? And this is this Hindi belt plus, right? So 100, there are 6 states in which the BJP wins almost 70% of its seats, more than a 90% strike rate: Bihar, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh. Then we sort of look at the eastern coast of India going on south, and here the BJP had only a strike rate of 7% in 2014. Right? It's a very small number of seats. And when we look at the data a little bit closer, we see that where the BJP was able to manufacture an increase in turnout from 2009, it had a very big strike rate, more than 80%. Right? That's this year. And where it was not able to, it had a very small strike rate, right? Less than 25%. Don't want to talk too much about this, but essentially where the BJP was competitive is where you saw an increase in turnout. And there seems to be a very strong relationship to it. One way of putting this is that this is a heat map. The more red it is the greater increase in turnout. And saffron is where the BJP won. You don't need to be a great statistician to see that these two look very similar, right? So I can run all the crazy statistics I want. The one thing that seems quite clear is the BJP did not win very many seats here. It either lost and contested, or it simply didn't contest along the eastern coast of India, going into parts of the Northeast in 2014. Right? These are also places where we're seeing systematically less turnout increase, except a bit in Orissa. So what is the systematic difference between some of these states? Or is it between the 15 largest states? Remember the 6 states I started with: Bihar, UP, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Gujarat. Among the biggest states in India, they are the lowest turnout states in India. And so what ends up happening in these states is that the BJP manufactures a double-digit increase in turnout. In the states that we associate with the East, chiefly among them West Bengal, but you do have Assam, you have Orissa, you have much lesser increases in turnout. Kerala, Andhra Pradesh in the south, Tamil Nadu, right? So in places where the BJP is not able to pick up vote share, it's also not increasing turnout, but these are also by far the highest turnout states in India. So what we learned from 2014 and a part of the BJP's story is that it really is the ability to bring new voters into the fold in the Hindi belt that brings the BJP to power. When we think about the East and the Eastern corridor, these are places that are vernacular states, turnouts were already quite high. And so the job of the BJP was not just to bring new people to the polls, but to actually switch their allegiances, right? And that becomes the challenge of the East for the BJP, right? I'm looking at 2009 to 2014, but when we think about what it means for the BJP to break into the East and the Northeast, we are talking about a situation where systematically have to switch voters' allegiances, right? Rather than getting new people to turn out. Okay. 2009 to 2014, 2019, you see the BJP starting to break in a bit. It wins much, much more in the Northeast and does quite well in West Bengal, winning 18 out of 42 seats, and actually even a bit better in Orissa, right? In fact, Orissa is a very interesting case. It's a simultaneous election. It's an election where the BJD, the party, the regional party there, does well in the state election, and the national election, the BJP does much better, but it's a simultaneous election, right? So there are people who are splitting their tickets. And just sort of a general point here, we do see that there's a huge difference between national elections and state elections across all kinds of states, right? Not just the Hindi belt, but even everywhere else, right? So when we think about what it means for the BJP strategy in the East and that of the regional parties that are going to contest them, which I'm going to get to right now, we're talking about a situation where the national election is systematically different than the state election. Okay. So what are some things that we can learn about the East? So one of the matched pairs that I sort of like to talk about is that of Assam and West Bengal state election, right? So it's not the national election in 2021. Now, what we know is that the BJP swept, or the NDA swept in Assam, and it got swept in West Bengal in the state election. And when we look at the spatial demography of the state, we see that in Assam, 36% of seats have less than 15% Muslim, and 38% have more than 50% Muslim. A very small percentage of seats are actually in this middle category. In West Bengal, it's flipped. Actually, 2/3 of seats are in this sort of 15 to 50 bracket. Now, the reason why it matters is that if you are a party that wants to carry West Bengal, you are going to have to win a disproportionate number of seats where there is not a majority of Muslims, but where there's a significant percentage of Muslims. Whereas if you want to carry Assam, you can carry seats that are overwhelmingly Hindu and win a smattering of seats that have a moderate Muslim population. So these are states in which the spatial demography suggests that a certain kind of Hindu-Muslim polarization might be particularly successful. So when we think about the story that going back to West Bengal in 2019, when the BJP did well, one of the big stories that is known to people who study the region, but people sort of don't talk about as much, is that there was extraordinary vote splitting between the left parties and Congress, who were in alliance, TMC, and for the Muslim vote in many of these seats. Now, what ended up happening is that much of the Muslim vote got divided in certain parts of West Bengal, and the BJP surged ahead, particularly in the northern part of the state. So, when we sort of come back and think a little bit about what is the strategy of various regional parties, particularly in the East and the Northeast, the first obvious story is to take advantage of different spatial demography, right? Where there is likely to be Hindu and Muslim polarization, given that this is sort of a triumphant BJP election, Ram Mandir has happened, there are challenges. However, in places where there are mixed populations, the lack of coherence among the regional parties and the lack of coherence among the opposition has led to a lot of vote splitting. And that's a place in which I think the opposition is going to try to make significant difference. The other thing that I think we've seen in especially the state elections, and that we're going to start seeing in the national elections as well, is that some of the regional leaders understand that their most valuable campaign strategy is about the individual herself or himself, right? And we see that with Mamata very directly, where I think this time the electoral campaign is going to be much more directly circumscribed around Mamata as an individual and as a character, appealing to the Bengali population, because that's actually TMC's strongest card in the wave of this sort of tsunami of BJP support and Modi support. That being said, I think the sheer amount of resources the BJP has at its disposal to compete against regional parties, to beat regional parties, is a very serious challenge for the regional actors. And I think that beyond the sort of fair electoral politics of it, we should not underestimate the impact that institutions and legal challenges are having on regional parties, right? So we know that standing chief minister, well, he stepped down just before JMM was arrested. There are cases against leaders of the Aam Aadmi Party. There are cases against leaders of the TMC. Others are facing legal challenges. And so this actually fundamentally constrains how much resource mobilization the regional parties can use at a time like this, and the sheer sort of overwhelming economic support for the BJP gives it a leg up in many of these elections. So just a couple of things to think about here. We are still in a world, unless we see something different, where the BJP has about a 50% strike rate against regional parties. And it has about a 90% plus strike rate against Congress, right? That is what we saw in 2014, and that is what we saw in 2019. And the question for the regional parties is that it's unlikely that you're going to move the strike rate down very significantly for the BJP. But it could be the case, the sheer resource mobilization for the BJP starts moving the strike rate up against the regional parties. The challenge for the regional parties is to keep it at par as it has done, and using some of the strategies that we talked about. And the other sort of reality, I just want to put that number out there. I mean, we see the maps, but we are in a world where the BJP almost wins by fiat if it wins 90% of the seats in they contest in the Hindi belt. It's 180 seats in 2019 just from the Hindi belt, right? You're almost at a single party majority at that point. The reason why that matters for the East and the Northeast is that we haven't seen an election in the last two national elections in which there's a question about whether the BJP is going to win. And we do know that there are a lot of voters who want to support the winning party, particularly a winning party that has undertaken as much political centralization and domination of institutions, right? That the BJP has at the center. And so we shouldn't underestimate the impact of spillover and knock-on effects. If it's a fait accompli that the BJP is going to win, as Sanjay has sort of suggested, then that also is worth more than a few seats and a fairly large increase in vote share for the BJP, even outside of the Hindi belt. Just leave my thoughts there. Thank you.
Nilanjan, are you done? Or
I'm done. Yes.
Thanks, Nilanjan, for sort of summarizing, the sort of BJP strike rate vis-a-vis the Congress as well as the other regional parties, and with a focus on the East and the Northeast, where at least in the East, in much of the action will be in the coming days. May I now turn to Narayan for him to analyze, the BJP's much touted southern push, and what do you think could come of it? Prime Minister Modi's repeated forays, not just in Tamil Nadu, but elsewhere. Of course, you can, comment on both Tamil Nadu where you stay and work, but also the other southern states. Over to you, Narayan. I think you might need to unmute.
Sorry, yeah. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Yes, thank you, Ranajay. I do definitely concur with the view that the BJP probably considers South India to be one of its most formidable challenges in terms of expanding its footprint, at least with the sense of ease that it has done so, with the sense of focus and drive that it's done so elsewhere, including the Hindi heartland and other parts of the country as well. And the reason for that is variegated, as you suggested. Certainly, there's a certain kind of pushback that the BJP experiences in Tamil Nadu, but Kerala offers a different experience, and so does Andhra, Telangana, and of course Karnataka truly stands out because it has appeared to provide a greater space for the BJP's dominance to play the kind of role that it has in the north. So before we, since my co-panelists have provided quite an extensive statistical view, I won't spend too much time on that. I'll just give you a snapshot of how the BJP has done in 2019 in these states, and then we can talk more about sort of the societal and political factors driving these trends. From 2019, the BJP basically won 30 out of the 130 Lok Sabha seats in South India, which when you include Puducherry and Lakshadweep, and the fact that the Vellore seat was not in contest, it comes to 130. And out of those 30 seats that the BJP picked up, it won 25 in Karnataka. That is 25 out of the 28 seats there. I think, Ranajay, you alluded to this earlier on. And the 5 states, well, these 5 states, as I said, offer a different experience, but none of them stands out as much as Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, basically, there are 39 seats, and the DMK pretty much took all of them except one. And I think that represented a sense of the Tamil people's long-standing interest, not just in Dravidian politics, but a sense of almost suspicion with which parties of the North, whether Congress or the BJP, have been viewed ever since 1967, when the Dravidian movement unseated the Congress and sort of opened up the space to regional players only for the best part of 50 years following that. So the Congress, of course, was an ally to the DMK, and it has remained in the state as a junior partner. So in that regard, it remains a presence in the state. In Andhra Pradesh, in the 2019 election, the TDP chief, Chandrababu Naidu, was in sort of hectic parleys to form an anti-BJP alliance, but his party did not perform well. They were only able to win 3 of the 25 Lok Sabha seats, whereas the YS Jagan Mohan Reddy led YSR Congress won 22 seats. It's notable that the BJP at this time had only 0.96% of the vote share in Andhra Pradesh. In Kerala, the Congress did well. So out of the 20 Lok Sabha seats, the left parties won only 2, whereas the Congress won 15 seats and its vote share actually increased to 37.3%. For the BJP, again, it did not manage to get a seat, but at the same time in Kerala, it did improve its vote share marginally from 10.45% in 2014 to 12.93% in 2019. Telangana, again, was a state where there was a mixed performance, but the BJP was, again, very much not in the top, among the top players. The TRS, now known as the BRS, won 9 of the 17 Lok Sabha seats there. And the BJP made some inroads and won 4 seats, while the Congress got 3. And 1 seat was picked up by Asaduddin Owaisi of IMM. Karnataka obviously stands apart, as I'd mentioned, in the sense that of the 28 Lok Sabha seats, the BJP won 25, increasing its tally from 2014 by 8 seats. And the Congress and JDS had 1 seat each, while a third seat was won by an independent. The BJP in Karnataka also succeeded in increasing its vote share from 43.37% in 2014 to 51.4% in 2019. And the Congress's vote share in that case went down from 41.15% in 2014 to 31.88% in 2019. So let's look at Karnataka. So I think one of the major factors that makes Karnataka stand out among these South Indian states is that unlike the others around it, it has always had the space for national parties. And that partly some of the research on Karnataka society and politics reflects. It sort of is a mirror image of the fact that society itself, in terms of the caste structure, is the balance of power is fragmented in a way that there is sort of asymmetric dominance by certain groups, that is the Vokaligas and the Lingayats, and to a lesser extent the Brahmins. And this leads to a certain openness to a certain kind of government, which is basically that you have resource allocation decided within these dominant caste networks, and they tend to perpetuate their rule government after government, election after election. So within this sort of structure or pattern of caste dominance manifested in government, in terms of the parties that occupy power, national parties such as the Congress, the Janata Dal, and the BJP have had a much more or a much less constrained space within which to operate. And regionalism has not really, kind of arisen within that political space the way it has, let's say, in Tamil Nadu. There is, a Kannadiga movement, so to speak, but it hardly led to control of the state, thereby leading to, a major difference in the way resources are allocated across different segments of Karnataka population. So Karnataka has always stood out in that regard, and therefore, while the BJP has obviously been engaged in a tussle at the state government level with the Congress and JDS in alliance in the past, and it's Yediyurappa not being there is a challenge for it going forward. At the same time, I think they are masters at playing the Vokaliga Lingayat relations, and notwithstanding what happened in the state assembly election, I think they still have a chance to have the maximum seats, Lok Sabha seats in that state in all of South India. Now let's turn to Tamil Nadu, which is, as Narendra said, it's a state that I know well. It is basically a case of the BJP trying to maximize its impact through maybe a post-poll alliance with the AIADMK, if at all that materializes. There was a pre-poll alliance, at least at the discussion stage, and it began to get formalized until the point where the BJP state chief, Annamalai, I think made some remarks regarding C.N. Annadure, who is the Dravidian movement sort of legatee, he's considered part of the heritage of the Dravidian movement, and disparaging him, maybe in the context of critiquing the DMK, unfortunately had the impact of injuring sentiment or making it impossible for the AIADMK leadership to consider partnering with the BJP unless they face fallout at the election from these remarks made by Annamalai. So that alliance fell apart. But again, the fact that there is institutional weakness within the AIADMK ever since the time of Jayalalitha, and who herself never really cultivated or allowed leadership to grow beneath her, that was just given her own centralizing style of governance. That party has been in a sort of implosive mode ever since her passing, and that has been evidenced by factionalism and conflict between, let's say, EPS, the former E. Panisamy, E. Panisamy and O. Paneerselvam, because they have also been, facing challenges from the Sasikala clan, who have then further splintered. And basically, the very institutional structure of their cadre was in dispute. Finally, it went to the courts, and the courts decided strongly in terms of EPS, as he's known. And while he formally controls the cadre of the party, the caste-wise split between the Tevars, the Gaundars, and Vaniers and others who are part of the AIADMK umbrella, that split is threatens his very leadership, and he is not anywhere near the stature of Jayalalitha in terms of controlling these various caste groups and building an alliance that could mount a reasonable challenge to the DMK. So the BJP, I think, is aware of this institutional weakness within the AIADMK. So while they do not have very much more to ally with, of course, they have allied with the PMK, another minor party. They will have to assume that over time they will have to play a leadership role and somehow either partner with or take over the space occupied by the AIADMK in confronting the DMK in future election. At this time, it still does look like a challenge because the DMK has performed under the government of Stalin at the state government level. And beyond that, I think the sort of ideological or policy rhetoric level, the DMK has been making a strong case for not allowing the impact of a distant, upper caste-driven party from North India. Hindi imposition has been a big issue. There is a constant discussion in public circles of, the lack of cooperation from Delhi, whether it was in terms of COVID funds or whether it's in terms of share of center state, the GST sharing or other forms of revenue transfer from New Delhi to Chennai. That has become a very public part of the debate, and to the point where the DMK has framed it as challenging state autonomy itself within the framework of center-state relations. And the last thing I'll say with regards to Tamil Nadu here is also the role of the governor. So this is another instrument that the BJP has been working with or deploying across opposition-ruled states, where the governor takes a proactive role, in some would say exceeding their constitutional mandate, but very much, sort of getting into the areas where the state government would deem itself to be the sole authority or the sole governmental arm in charge. And this has led to, clashes which have been quite public, including in the state assembly itself, where the governor has stormed out after refusing to read the speech of the Tamil Nadu cabinet, most recently as an example. So all of these issues have been framed by the DMK and the government as the risks of having an overbearing central government, or national party, I would say, winning more seats here and strengthening that party's hand through this Lok Sabha election in Delhi. It has been seen as a danger to Tamil exceptionalism and has been couched in sort of ethno-linguistic terms as well. And that, while it certainly, I think, evokes a chord among the older voter demographics, the interesting question will be to see whether younger voters respond to this sort of political rhetoric, because they obviously, it's been a long time since 1967, and not many of them will be tuned to the terms of that debate and to even to what exactly that social movement achieved, and the idea of Tamil national exceptionalism that it continues to speak about. About the remaining states, Telangana and Andhra, as well as Kerala, I think I will just say that all of them also represent, although even if not as much as Tamil Nadu, they represent strong regional identities, and they also represent uneasy relations in terms of center-state sharing of resources. And again, if you look at this governor issue of the governor taking a proactive role, and that is irking the functioning of the government in each of these states, that has been a major issue as well in all of them. So in all of these cases, again, we shared the numbers earlier on about sort of literally no seats that the BJP has, or very few. It's going to be an uphill climb in all of these southern states too. I think I'll leave it there, and if you have any further questions in the Q&A, I can come back to specific state questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Narayan, for providing a summary of South India, which is of course a vast terrain. We're also trying to explain why Karnataka is an outlier in South India, where, as you mentioned, it always has a space or has had a space for national parties, unlike some of the other states. So with that, could we move to our final panelist, Neelam Pandey, and possibly ask her to move away from the macro picture that we've been sort of talking about and talk a little bit about the sort of nitty-gritties and the electoral strategies that the BJP might be employing to try and meet what seems like quite a tall target set by the Prime Minister. Neelam?
Yeah, thank you, Ranjoy. I will begin with, when I saw the topic of the webinar, the Indian general elections are no contest, I got reminded of this interaction that I had with one of the leaders, BJP leaders, and this is way back in January. And I said that, everyone is saying that it is a no contest. PM has been talking about it in his rallies. So, for all of you, you must be very confident. And he said, and I said that, nothing to worry about. So, and the leader said, but there is a contest. It is for us to sort of beat our 2019 record. So we have to work all the more hard. It is not about India Alliance or, the regional parties. We have to fight what we had delivered in 2019. So, we've often heard this phrase about the BJP is an election machine. And whenever I have interacted with BJP functionaries the recent assembly elections, or whether it is the 2019 elections, they all say that throughout the year we are involved in one program or the other. So not a single day will go by that you will hear that a BJP functionary is not part of some local event or the other. Well, we've already talked about this, but I'll just, talk about it once more that, BJP had received 37.36% of the vote. It is the highest since 1989 general election. It won 303 seats. But it has now set a target of 370 and 400 par, which is above 400 as far as the NDA is concerned. And PM has already linked this 370 with the removal of Article 370 in the erstwhile state Jammu and Kashmir. So, very cleverly he has tried to set that target also in terms of its sentiment, in terms of its appeal to the voters. He's also called for raising the BJP's vote share by 10% from the show that they delivered in 2019. But the number not only depicts the BJP's, rising ambitions, but it's also clever ploy, by the party that they understand the cadre can also get lazy since the polls are being seen as an, easy victory for the NDA. So what have they been doing and how are they going to get those 67 seats? Well, the party had set up call centers to begin with in 300 districts across the country, and their job was simple. They had to just call people, the first time voters, and tell them that why they should be voting for Modi government once again. That they've now decided to set up call centers in all the 370 Lok Sabha seats that they're eyeing. At the same time, they launched this campaign called Modi Ka Parivar campaign. And I just want to talk about this, that this was not really a campaign that the BJP had planned, but it is because of this statement by Lalu Prasad Yadav that PM Modi does not have a family. The BJP quickly jumped and converted it into a pre-poll sort of a slogan. So, and this is not the first time. If we look at 2019, the BJP had found a similar catchphrase. And this was again from an attack by Congress leader Rahul Gandhi. And, Modi used to refer to himself as the Chowkidar or, the watchman of the country. And he was in a way ridiculed by the Congress with the slogan Chowkidar Chor Hai. And seizing on the Congress's campaign, the BJP launched a counter-attack with the motto, Main bhi Chowkidar. And so my point is that the opposition, similarly, you must have seen Shakti, the phrase that was used by Congress leader Rahul Gandhi to target PM Modi. Again, that Shakti has been converted into another slogan, and this PM Modi is now using to reach out to the women voters across the country. BJP, for instance, as far as strategies are concerned, it has already mapped 13 crore beneficiaries who have been availing several different government schemes. It has also asked its senior leaders and party workers, some of them have already started, that they will be launching yet another beneficiary outreach program where they will be connecting with these beneficiaries, asking them that what more do they want. And all these schemes are actually centered schemes. So in states where they are not in power, the BJP wants to make it a point to tell people that why is it important for Modi government to come back to power. Early movers advantage. The first list of the BJP was declared on March 2nd, and they came up with a list of 195 candidates. I would just like to highlight this meeting, which was held to decide on the names, went on till 3:30 a.m. And PM Prime Minister Narendra Modi was a part of it. And soon after he finished that meeting, he had around 3 to 4 rallies. He had a packed day after that too. So, this entire narrative of that the PM nahi thakte, that, he never gets tired. He is dedicated to, he has dedicated his life to work for the people. So that narrative gets pushed. If we compare it to 2019, the BJP, it had come up with this list of 180 candidates on 21st March, which was over 10 days after the Model Code of Conduct came into place. And this strategy is something that the BJP has been using quite recently. It has used it in the assembly election, and it seems to have paid off. The second list was declared by the BJP on March 13, and the third list is also expected by 22nd, when the CEC will take place. Another strategy that was used by the BJP, and this was on the direction of Prime Minister Narendra Modi during the Council of Ministers meeting, he talked about that, we need to find out why people did not vote for us, or we had a very narrow margin in around 160 odd seats. So apart from focusing on what we have won already, he said we need to find out why people did not vote for us. And this was called the Pravas Yojana, where these clusters were assigned to senior leaders and ministers who were asked to go out, visit those areas, prepare a report, and they were supposed to meet not only those who voted for the BJP or who are a little sympathetic towards the BJP, but those who are in a way its opponents, and they wanted to understand why did you not vote for us. So that report got prepared, and it's not just this report, these clusters did not include only southern states, but it also had areas in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, in other parts of the country too. And this exercise got conducted in May 2023. So the emphasis is on that they had started planning for 2024 way back in 2023 itself. And thousands of booth workers covered booths across 160 parliamentary constituencies. Those reports were shared with the central leadership. Just 1 second, sorry. I've just made my notes and I'm trying to look at that. Yeah, so in 2019, BJP had contested on 436 seats. It won 303 of them. The 160 constituencies, the party lost beside the seats where it sort of, just managed to win. A full-time Vistarak, or a volunteer, if we can call it, was appointed. And now that volunteer, till the time elections will be held, will be there, and he will be working in tandem with the district party presidents, the state leadership, and they will ensure that on the day of the polling itself, they are able to ensure that whoever they have been able to identify as voters, potential BJP supporters, they will ensure that they vote on that particular day. Apart from this, they have also formed re-verification. They had conducted a re-verification booth drive. So why it is important is because a number of times these booths either get defunct, or the number of people who are assigned to it, the number goes down. So this re-verification drive was carried out to ensure that even the workers were aware that someone is up there, keeping an eye on them, and they need to deliver. And these booth management is something that, whenever we talk about BJP's election machinery, booth management is something that is a plus for them. But despite that, they ensured that they carried out the re-verification drive. Muslim outreach. Mostly people say that, the Muslim community as such doesn't vote for the BJP. Despite that, the party selected 65 Muslim dominated Lok Sabha seats where the Muslim population is, let's say, around 30% or more. And the BJP's minority morcha, which is the minority front of the party, it carried out several campaigns there, whether it was door to door or use of social media, seminars, and they ensured that, all the decisions, all the policies and the schemes of the central government, whether it is in terms of housing, whether it is the Ujjwala scheme, they wanted to highlight that, despite the fact that the India bloc keeps saying that the minority community is sidelined by the BJP, the schemes and the policies are for everyone. So if they vote for the BJP, they are sure to be on the path of development. The seats which the BJP lost and the rallies that are planned, so the BJP has already planned 45 to 55 rallies for those clusters where it had lost, but as I said, it won by a very minor sort of a margin. And once PM Modi will finish rallies in those constituencies, they will then move on to the other ones which are more favorable to the BJP. BJP is also focusing on another membership drive, a booth audit, and the Viksit Bharat Yatra has been on for a while now. This was a government scheme. However, the BJP said that Viksit Bharat scheme is a flagship program of the Modi government, and they ensured that they pressed all their party functionaries into action, asking them to not only highlight what this scheme is all about, but to focus on PM Modi as someone who stands for development. I just talked about the membership drive. The membership drive, I'll just give a small example from Bihar and UP. They talked about that, whoever you think has any interest in politics, you just go out and give them BJP membership. And if we can even get 2,000 to 3,000 people in a booth, it will make a lot of difference. So 2,000 may not sound a big number as far as Lok Sabha elections are concerned, but they said that if you keep on counting it booth by booth, then the number becomes substantial. I have already spoken about the booth re-verification drive. Another thing that I noticed was I sat down to sort of map the number of programs that the BJP was carrying out at a given point of time, and I could count 20 in one go. So whether it's the Viksit Bharat, the Modi Mitra, Selfie with Modi, the Yuva Sammelan, all the minority morcha, the OBC, the SC morcha, they have also carried out programs throughout the year. A calendar was made which PM had asked Party President JP Nadda to prepare a calendar that not a single day should go by when there is not a program that is planned by the party. Another example of, why I said that the BJP is saying that there is still a contest. I'll give you an example of Gujarat, where it has been winning comfortably over the past many years. And in a meeting, C.R. Patil, who's the state president of the BJP, during the meeting, he said that, now the challenge is not to win these seats. We know we are going to win it. You have to ensure that you win it by a 5 lakh margin. So all these MPs are now telling me that, I used to win by a margin of 3 to 4. Where do I get that 1 lakh? So that 1 lakh will come from those who are still not in BJP's, who are still not considered BJP supporters, but they have been asked to go out to them, talk to them, despite the fact that they are very, very clear that they will be winning. They want to ensure that the victory margin is much more. I'll just wrap up in a minute. There's another direction that has come from the central leadership, that all these rallies that are being organized of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, they want to highlight that, he's getting the support of women voters. They have been asked, the party has been asked to ensure that they are seated in the front, that the women leaders who participate in those rallies are garlanded. The Mahila Morcha, the Mahila front of the BJP, has also planned an award for Women Achiever using the legacy of former Chief Minister and senior leader Sushma Swaraj. So the party is very clear that we can get the kind of support that we want, and for us to sort of increase that tally to, let's say, 370, we need the support of all. Youth is also another big focus for the BJP. It has been focusing on first-time voters, and they've already launched a program called Pehla Vote Modi Ko. The first vote should go to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And if you look at how PM uses every opportunity to reach out to the young voters, recently we had the National Creators Award, and there Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacted with influencers and achievers from different states. And this, the party feel, will sort of encourage young voters to connect with the party as far as elections are concerned. As per election data, we know that there are 21.5 crore voters who are also below the age of 30. So they are trying very hard to reach out to these first time voters as well. And I just want to highlight how BJP is also getting the support from the RSS and the VHP in terms of VHP has also said that it will be restarting its campaign on Love Jihad. It has identified around 1,000 blocks across the country where it has asked its functionaries to go out, talk to people about Love Jihad and all. And at the same time, RSS and VHP both have said that people should vote for a nationalist party, in a way indicating the BJP. Thank you.
Thank you, Neelam, for sort of giving as an idea of the many facets of the BJP's electoral strategy, and one that you termed a machine which is never idle, right? It doesn't sort of come into life just before the elections, but it's a round the clock, 24/7 exercise. Okay, so may I also invite, as we begin the discussion, members of the audience to send in questions either through the chat mode or the Q&A mode. I'll keep a track of that. But before I turn to questions from the audience, may I just throw, out, circle back to that sort of original question. Of course, we sort of dealt with the idea of whether this is a no contest. And I think there seems to be a consensus that overall, nationally, this is not going to be a 2004 BJP definitely on a strong wicket, as Neelam mentioned, that the BJP themselves think, or the BJP workers think, that the contest is vis-a-vis 2019, bettering 303 and not against other parties. But if one comes back to the question of where the BJP, can increase its seat, I know it's perilous, making predictions. May I sort of ask Sanjay, maybe, where do you think there is a possibility? It seems to have kind of, conventionally, maxed out in northern India, the Hindi belt as well as in the West. So where do you think the BJP can look at increasing its seat tally?
BJP as a party can increase its tally. I'm not discussing the states where it has already matched because there is no scope. But I think the possibility is in UP, a big possibility. From 62 they had last time and 2 with their allies, they can add up anything between 10 to 12 seats. That's my guess, maybe even more. That's one state. Odisha is another state where I expect BJP to add. If there is an alliance with the BJD, then the NDA almost, then it's kind of what we call Safaya, 21 out of 21. If BJP enters into an alliance with BJD, but suppose 2 possibilities. If BJP is contesting against BJD, then even then I expect BJP's seats to go up by, last time they had 8 out of 21. I can easily see them moving up to 15 or 16. Bengal, possibility of BJP adding a few seats, not much. From 18, they can go up to, it could be reverse, 22, 20 for Mamta and 22 for, so there is a possibility of few seats in Bengal, possibility of few seats. I think besides these states, there is hardly any possibility of BJP seats. If they manage to win, say, maybe Andhra, they will add 3 or 4 seats because in alliance with TDP, they will get 3 or 4 seats to contest, and they are likely to win those seats. So Andhra, there will be a 3 or 4 seat addition. Telangana, it is a bipolar contest. I can see from my point of view, it is a BJP versus Congress now. So BRS is almost out of the race in the Lok Sabha election. So there also they can add 3 or 4 seats. Last time they had 4 seats, they can go up to 7, 8. Tamil Nadu, I don't see them adding any seat. Kerala, I don't see them adding any seat. Karnataka, they can't add a seat. Maharashtra, very, very difficult. Gujarat, already maxed. So I think these are the only states where they can increase. So it could be, say, 12 in UP, 4, 8 in Odisha, 20, 2 or 3 in Bengal, and then 4 or 5 in, so maybe 2 or 3 in Andhra and 4 or 5 in Telangana. So this is roughly about 30 to 32 seats they can add. But if so, the 370 is a kind of a narrative in trying to build a narrative. So these are the states where I see BJP adding, possibility of BJP adding.
Right. Anyone else? Narayan, do you want to sort of chip in vis-a-vis the South? Do you kind of agree with Sanjay, or do you think?
Yeah, I do think, Ranjay, that Telangana especially does offer a slightly open space because, as we know, the BRS, earlier TRS, has taken a beating in terms of the state government, state assembly elections. And that, if you take that as a proxy or a signal of people's level of satisfaction with that party, it, in a sense, almost marks the end of a regional movement there, because the TRS was very much at the forefront of the bifurcation of the state itself, the creation of the state, and that whole political momentum behind that seems to have petered out. Of course, the Congress swept in end of last year in the state assembly election. But I think at the national level, that actually leaves a fairly wide field. I mean, as journalists, I don't ever want to stick my head out and put a number on it, but I do think we could get surprising results for the BJP in Telangana, just given the mood and what it says to us at this point. The rest of the South, including Andhra, I'm skeptical because, like I said again, it's a combination of relatively strong state level leaders combined with that overall sort of voter wariness of being governed by the BJP. Of course, we in the South pay attention to all the things happening in the North, especially in states where, as someone alluded earlier, sometimes central institutions have been weaponized against opposition parties. It leads to, even this whole very, very interesting discussion on electoral bonds and the question of, people literally paying their way to avoid raids. These kinds of things echo very strongly in the South, and we read a lot, we talk a lot. So there's a sense of awareness that these risks come with just throwing your lot in, especially when you do have strong leadership. In the where there's a vacuum, of course, the BJP is absolutely adept at stepping in, both in terms of finance as well as institutional, lever moving, in terms of institutional maneuvering to jockey its way into power.
Right. If no one else has any response, maybe there's a question that's come in, and I was actually turning to Nilanjan to maybe share his thoughts on West Bengal. And the question is on West Bengal and Maharashtra, where the question is that what will be the effect of the CA and the incidents in Shandeshkhali in West Bengal, and on Maharashtra, the question on whether there is a prospect of vote transfer, especially from the Shiv Sena and the NCP factions to the BJP. You don't have to answer both, but you could. But Nilanjan, do you want to sort of share your thoughts on the situation in West Bengal? How do you sort of, again, without making predictions about seats, but the general trends? Do you see BJP gaining ground, or is it pretty much getting what it did in 2019?
So, I think in my initial comments, I stayed away from the obvious thing of a Bengali comment who works on Bengal commenting only on Bengal for prompt of the national elections, but now I think I'll do some of that. Um, so a couple of things, right? So first, Shandeshkhali is very hard to read as a ground level impact. First of all, it's happened in a place that is seen as a TMC stronghold, I mean, a region. But the second thing is that at least in the national media, it's been portrayed through a religious lens. And I think on the ground, it is not seen that way. And so, how much a narrative of Hindu and Muslim actually works to describe what has happened in Shandeshkhali is, will drive the extent to which the BJP is able to benefit from it politically. The sense I get, at least from vernacular media and so on, is at the moment that has not actually happened to a great extent. I think people do read Shandeshkhali as, kind of partyocracy rather than religiousocracy, right? And whatever that brings. So it might create an anti-TMC sense in some sense, but not the sort of religious polarization that would create larger effects. CAA2 is a very complicated. It's a complicated case because we think of the two large populations that we associate both scheduled Rajbongshi and Nomoshudra. One is sort of largely benefiting potentially from CA because they're looking to be naturalized, and one is concerned about what's going to happen to numbers if their own numbers if it comes to pass in that region, right, in the north and Rajbongshis. So there too, I think it will have an impact among the Nomoshudras. I think there's no doubt. I think there have been some missteps in the way that it has been sold for the BJP. A sitting minister saying, "I'm going to become an Indian citizen," and then having to back out, say, "Obviously, I'm already an Indian citizen." So there's these kinds of funny things happening, but it will yield political dividends. Now, in terms of what it means for the state, part of the reason why I've stayed away from making too many predictions here is that there's a core zone of West Bengal where it would be extremely shocking, which is we associate with the south of the state and areas in and around Calcutta. It would be extremely shocking if the TMC lost any seats or even a couple of seats, right? Even in 2019, when the BJP sort of stormed in, it was in the sort of the northern part and the tribal belt. There, I still see the BJP has a reasonable hold. The way that I think about it is that there is some, what we think of as traditionally, what people stereotypically think of as traditionally Bengali and ethnically Bengali is actually only that southern region. And many of these places that have sort of more mixed identities, those places the BJP has been able to come in. And the popularity of Modi has been successful. So I definitely see the BJP strong on at least 10 to 12 seats already, and it could be more, right, depending on how it goes. The BJP's problem is that it continues to be very organizationally weak. The TMC has picked candidates, relatively good candidates, even in tough seats. That will probably lean in its favor in a couple of seats. The only thing I did mention in my earlier comments, but I do think that local populations and even the Congress and the TMC's local teams have learned a lesson from vote splitting. I don't think that extent of vote splitting will see again in the northern part of the state. That's what I would say about West Bengal. Maharashtra, I'm happy to not try to decipher what is happening in that state. It is quite a mess. I will say one thing though, that one of the things that can happen mathematically is that even if the BJP on the whole is less popular because it's no longer allying with a strong ally who it's giving many seats to, it can still actually win a large number of seats despite having a poorer strike rate and doing less well. So it's extremely hard to figure out in that morass how many seats might go to a party like the BJP and BJP allied parties.
Right. Yeah, I think I agree. Karnataka is extremely complicated. You have, splits. You have, splits within families, splits within parties. So it's very messy. I saw the other day, Raj Thackeray, who's a very marginal figure, is now allied with the BJP, and of course there's a lot of tussling going on with the NCP symbol, etc. So, Sanjay, do you have any thoughts on Maharashtra? You're, on.
No. In one line, I can say Maharashtra is heading for a very interesting contest. And at the moment, my own sense is that it's a very tight contest between the two groups. Very difficult to say which one is ahead. At least this is what I get a sense from Maharashtra.
Okay, interesting. So just to, there's a question that come in, but before I go to that, Neelam was talking about the formidable, the BJP machinery. Of course, part of it is due to, the enormous amounts of funds that the BJP has at its disposal. And Narayan, I think, briefly mentioned the question of electoral bonds. Do you think the electoral bonds issue can be made a campaign by the opposition, or do you think people don't really care, where the parties got their money from, as long as the almost the kind of the BJP logic. If we are good at raising money, so be it. What's wrong in that? It doesn't matter where the money is coming from. Do you sort of agree with that, Neelam, or?
I think that this issue could have become. I mean, I still think that the opposition and the India Alliance need to focus more on this issue. It needs to really, go out, go on the streets rather than just, taking to social media and posting something or the other. There's been one conference or the other. Apart from that, they really need to hit the street, talk about it. What does it mean for the common people? At a time when BJP was talking about that, clean money, it was talking about demonetization, why it took such decision, then what exactly does it mean for the BJP as a party and the image of Prime Minister Narendra Modi that there are these anonymous donors who are funding the party? So I feel that this could have become a much more significant issue. It's become more of an academic sort of a topic where Congress is saying this, TMC is saying something else. At the same time, I feel that right now, yes, people are not really concerned about it. Overall, I'm saying, I mean, one section might be, but it has the potential to become an important issue, and it will resonate with people if they're able to tell them in simpler terms what exactly does it mean. So I feel that the India Alliance needs to, reach out to people and talk about it. What does it mean for the BJP? What does it mean for the BJP party's image? And Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who took this decision for demonetization to sort of so-called black money would be sort of the issue would be tackled. What exactly happened to that? What does it mean in terms of clean politics? So I feel that the BJP would obviously want that the focus is never on electoral bonds and who has paid them and who has not, because constantly Rahul Gandhi has criticized the BJP about the Adani and other such names. But right now they have an opportunity to dig out the information and tell them that if BJP has been sort of lenient towards Adani, this is the reason. So I believe that they need to really go out to the people and reach out to them and explain it to them. Why should it matter to them?
Sure. Anyone else have any
Can I
thoughts?
say something on this?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Sanjay. Yeah.
No, the difficulty is that if you look at the list of donors, the two names which is being discussed doesn't figure at all, Adani and Ambani. So also, I
Michelle.
don't get a sense that, yes, this is an issue. This is a serious issue. I don't deny that this is not a serious issue. And the seriousness is such that we would keep discussing and newspaper will keep writing, etc. But common people have no concern about that. Common voters doesn't bother about this because there is a generally acceptable fact that this happens. Political parties get money from the businessmen, etc. So what's new about that? And whichever party is the ruling party always get more money from the business classes. So I don't think opposition, despite their best effort, will be able to make electoral bond or black money in election as an election issue in 2024. That's my view on electoral board and bond and elections 2024.
Yeah, I would also agree with that. I mean, I think also people forget that we already knew who was getting the lion's share of the electoral bond money. Insofar as there's a political impact, it's likely to be who is the recipient. That's something we already knew. Maybe we didn't, we assumed that there would be more Ambani and Adani on the list and there was more or less, but I think everybody knows who the beneficiaries of the electoral bonds have been, including the TMC. Actually, you can look at some of the donors. It's clear that TMC has benefited, but already they were pretty high on the list, right? So this is not a shock to anybody. I don't think that it changes anybody's priors about who is benefiting from the electoral bond scheme. So that's part of the reason why it's going to have a very slow.
Democracy will, of course, continue to fret over it, but yeah, I think probably for the common voter does not mean that much.
Narendra, can I just add one point here, which is again, I agree also that the bonds issue may not echo that much. And just reflecting on the Tamil Nadu experience with corruption, it is definitely a state that is accustomed to, grand larceny. Whether DMK or ADMK for the best part of half a century have, very, very comfortably looted the public coffers to a large scale. And nobody really gets punished for that electorally. I think, again, and there's a mirror image for the whole nation, but again, in Tamil Nadu, what really echoes is welfare politics. And the big shift you've seen in the BJP, even at the national level, is from their overall reputation as a party that is focused on growth and sort of the new, and more of if you had a neoliberal party in this country, it would be the BJP. And however, they have gone through their own transition and now they are seen as a very welfare supporting, if not pro-welfare party. And they have no qualms about handing out various welfare policies. So I think that really, hits the pocket of the common man and woman and voter. And therefore, it is on that basis that you're going to see the election going one way or the other. Of course, the rhetoric on job creation will also matter. And there's a divergence across states in terms of performance.
Sure. Thanks, Narendra. So we have a couple of questions somewhat linked. One is, of course, the Congress hasn't occupied much space in our discussion today. So there's a question on, what, the Congress should be focusing on and how well the Congress, or how do you think the Congress will do this time? And there's a related question on Rahul Gandhi and whether he can play an important factor in the Congress's fortunes. Big questions. Anyone wants to take a sort of stab at what the Congress's prospects are?
So I think Sanjay and I will probably say similar things, but look, I mean, the first thing is in the last two national elections, in head-to-head contests, the BJP had more than a 90% strike rate. So however you want to empirically look at this, if in 200-something contests, you can't win at even 10% of the seats you're competing against the BJP, that's bad news. The election's already over. What it means actually is that the bar for the Congress is very low, right? I mean, nobody's asking the Congress to win 50% of the seats winning against the BJP, or even 40%. If you win 25% of the seats, it becomes a competitive election, right? But we just don't see that happening. That's the reality of it, right? The one thing that I would say, which is the only question mark in my head, I think everybody is sort of spoken with a fair amount of confidence about the BJP being ahead. This is one of the lowest energy landslide elections in Indian history, right? So far, right? It is, if you think about 2014 and 2019, there was Balakot, there was the Modi wave, this is kind of an election where it's about beating down the opposition rather than excitement towards the winning party, right? And it's quite shocking given that, CA is up there, Ram Mandir is up there, but it's clearly anybody who's been in the last couple of elections, there's much less energy from everybody you speak to. And, the question for the Congress is, why does it not? It's one thing for there to be a lot of energy and support for what is happening, a nationalistic wave for the BJP. But why do you not enthuse the voter at all, even in this kind of low energy setup? That requires some introspection. It is about weak organization. Perhaps it's that Rahul Gandhi is not connecting. There's a lot of income inequality, a lot of frustration about, although it's here, we clearly hear it on the ground everywhere. It simply hasn't become a political factor. And that is something that requires introspection.
Any further thoughts on the Congress, Rahul Gandhi?
I think another important area is how it will stitch its alliances, whatever is left. I mean, whether it's Bihar or other states, the way it goes about stitching those alliances will also be important for, the Congress. We saw what happened in West Bengal. So the states that are left, it's for instance, in Delhi, there are a lot of, candidates that it has fielded. One sees that there could be a fight on, let's say, the East Delhi seat, or they have fielded Mahabal Mishra, who used to be a former minister and MLA in Delhi. So I believe that, they really need to focus on stitching their alliances. That could really help them in terms of going forward in these elections.
Right. I think we are really out of time, but I sort of, and of course, Congress can hypothetically gain some ground in Karnataka and Telangana. But we know that state results and Lok Sabha results don't usually sort of match up. But I sort of wanted to throw in one kind of favorite question of mine, sort of a counterfactual, maybe one or two of you can respond. If we took Modi out of the equation, counterfactual, despite the BJP's formidable machinery, would we have been talking so confidently about the BJP's electoral prospects? How important is he in the grand scheme of things? If anyone wants to give a very quick response to that.
So my own sense is that if you take Prime Minister Modi out of BJP, at this moment, still BJP may be able to win election, but certainly there's no doubt that the scale of victory would come down drastically. Maybe BJP may fall short of a majority, but still only little short of the majority. And why I say that, we've been asking this question, we asked this question in 2014 and 2019, and to put it in numbers, we get a sense that in 2019, out of every 100 votes which BJP got, 32 was contributed by Modi himself. We did ask this question in the assembly election because there's a lot of discussion going on. Modi ka magic Lok Sabha mein kaam karega, but not in assembly election. But in the recent round of assembly election, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, we didn't ask the question in Chhattisgarh, unfortunately. But we did get a sense that in assembly elections also, the scale was very less. So it was out of 100 votes which BJP got, 20 was only and only because of Modi. So my own sense is that scale of victory would certainly come down heavily, but still the difference between BJP and Congress would still remain a very, very wide.
Right. Yeah. So the Modi factor remains extremely important. I think we could have gone on, but we are completely out of time. So thank you for the extremely stimulating discussion, and for the audience for hanging in there, or many of them have sort of hung around right till the end. May I also give a quick reminder that we have the second of our sort of series in panel discussions lined up on April 3rd, 2 weeks from now, and it's on identity politics. So do join us for that if you're free. And once again, a big thank you and a round of virtual applause for the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ranjay.